Welcome to Skytech-Lens. The news broke on a crisp autumn morning, not with a bang, but with a cold, sterile press release from Zurich. FIFA, the global governing body of football, had made an unprecedented decision. The United States was out as host of the 2026 World Cup. Stripped of its hosting rights with less than 2 years to go, the dream of a continent-spanning festival of football was suddenly and brutally extinguished. For millions of American fans, it was gut-wrenching disbelief. Organizing committees in 11 host cities had already invested hundreds of millions of dollars. Stadiums were being retrofitted, transport links upgraded, and communities mobilized. Now, all of that effort was rendered meaningless by a few paragraphs of bureaucratic text. The initial reaction was stunned silence, quickly turning to raw fury. The US was not just a host, it was the anchor of the entire tournament, set to host 60 of 80 matches, including the final at MetLife Stadium. The infrastructure was ready. The passion was palpable. The decisions simply did not compute. As reality sank in, the announcement felt like a slap in the face, a betrayal on the global stage. The dream of 2026 had been a testament to North American cooperation and a promise of a new era for football in the region. In one swift move, FIFA had not just canceled a tournament, it had shattered a foundational belief in partnership and the future it was meant to represent. The beautiful game had suddenly turned very, very ugly. Across the continent, the shockwaves were only just beginning. FIFA's official explanation was a masterpiece of corporate ambiguity. The statement cited insurmountable logistical and legal challenges, but offered no specifics. Instead, it announced Canada would now become the sole host of the 48-team tournament. The vague reasoning only fueled outrage. Across the US, fans, pundits, and politicians dismissed the excuse as a transparent fabrication. The hashtag #FIFAgate2 exploded, and speculation about the real motives ran wild. US soccer officials expressed profound disappointment. Mayors of spurned cities spoke of betrayal and threatened legal action. The American media went into overdrive, framing the move as a power play by an organization notorious for arrogance and greed. In Congress, calls for investigations and accusations of blackmail and extortion followed. The official story was dead on arrival. In its place, a powerful conviction that the US had been robbed. The world demanded to know the real reason why. The original United 2026 bid was more than a plan, it was a symbol of continental unity. For the first time, the US, Canada, and Mexico joined forces to deliver the biggest, most inclusive World Cup ever. The slogan, "United as One," promised cooperation and friendship at a time of global tension. The US would host the majority of matches, Mexico would bring its football heritage, and Canada would showcase its rising passion for the sport. The Tri-Nation tournament generated immense excitement and was seen as a catalyst for growth across the continent. For the US, it was a chance to cement football's place in the mainstream. For Mexico, a record third hosting. For Canada, a moment to step onto the world stage. The economic and cultural impact was expected to be massive. The sudden dismantling of this vision made FIFA's decision so shocking. It wasn't just the removal of a host, it was the destruction of the core idea that made the bid special. The promise of unity was replaced by division and discord. The loss was about more than stadiums and matches, it was the loss of a beautiful idea. Investigative journalists soon uncovered the real story, a bitter, high-stakes conflict between FIFA and the US. At the heart of the dispute, money and control. FIFA demanded sweeping tax exemptions and total control over sponsorship rights, demands the US could not legally or politically meet. American officials offered compromises, but FIFA refused to budge. Legal hurdles loomed large. FIFA wanted immunity from local laws, expedited visas, and indemnity from lawsuits. The US Department of Justice balked, citing constitutional principles. The impasse was fundamental, neither side would yield. FIFA, fearing a loss of authority, decided to make an example of the US by stripping the US of hosting rights and pivoting to Canada. FIFA sent a ruthless message: play by our rules, or don't play at all. The fallout was immediate and global. The world saw not a logistical failure, but a clash of power and principle. The beautiful game had become a battleground. The emotional fallout created a stark contrast along the border. In the US, rage and resentment boiled over. Fans, organizers, and politicians felt years of work had been cast aside. Lawsuits loomed, and calls for a re-evaluation of the US relationship with FIFA grew louder. In Washington, bipartisan outrage united Congress. Meanwhile, in Canada, shock quickly turned to jubilation. Spontaneous celebrations erupted in Toronto and Vancouver. The Prime Minister called it a challenge the nation would rise to meet. For Canadian fans, it was the ultimate underdog story. Finally, the world's biggest sporting event was theirs. The joy was tempered by the daunting task ahead, but pride and determination prevailed. While America fumed, Canada celebrated its incredible stroke of fortune. In one day, the emotional landscape of North American football was redrawn. Canada's euphoria was quickly tempered by reality. The original planned 10 group stage matches in 2 stadiums. Now the entire 48-team tournament, 104 matches, and a national scramble. The biggest challenge: infrastructure. Only Toronto and Vancouver were ready. FIFA required at least 10 venues. Montreal and Edmonton needed major upgrades. Other cities raced to assess and renovate facilities. Billions in emergency funding were approved for stadiums, airports, transport, and hotels. The clock was ticking. Every delay threatened the project. Tens of thousands of volunteers and staff had to be recruited and trained. A new national organizing committee, Canada 2026, worked around the clock with FIFA. The pressure was immense, the stakes higher than ever. The world watched to see if Canada could pull off the impossible. The countdown to a new World Cup had begun. As the challenge became clear, Canada rallied. The World Cup became a defining national project, uniting the country from coast to coast. The narrative shifted, not "can we do this?" but "we must do this." Corporate Canada poured in sponsorship and expertise. The media celebrated every milestone. For the Maple Leaf became the unofficial motto. School children made art, communities held events, and the government launched a massive PR campaign. Canada's reputation for hospitality and efficiency was on display. International skepticism faded as the world saw a nation coming together. The underdog narrative inspired Canadians and won global admiration. The pressure forged a stronger national identity. The world was about to see a new, ambitious, and fiercely proud Canada. When the first whistle blew in summer 2026, the Great Canadian World Cup became reality. Against all odds, the tournament was a spectacular success. New and refurbished stadiums gleamed, logistics ran smoothly, and the welcome was warm. The chaos of its inception was forgotten, replaced by a month-long celebration of football. Canada's legacy was transformative. Football became part of the national identity. The Canadian men's national team inspired a new generation. World-class facilities became permanent assets for the sport's growth. Canada's image on the world stage was reshaped, no longer just polite, but capable and ambitious. The flawless execution earned global respect. Hosting the World Cup became a new cornerstone of Canadian history. From chaos, Canada delivered one of the most memorable World Cups ever. The 2026 hosting debacle permanently altered North American and global football. The US-FIFA relationship was left fractured, trust replaced by animosity. The US turned inward, focusing on its domestic league and youth development, wary of FIFA's influence. A fierce new rivalry with Canada emerged, injecting passion and drama into CONCACAF competitions. Every match became a grudge match, every victory a statement. FIFA, chastened by the backlash, shifted to single-nation hosts for future tournaments. The era of sprawling multi-country bids was over. Canada's rise as a footballing power was catalyzed. The US forged a more independent path. The nature of international sports hosting was redefined, a cautionary tale about the clash between global bodies and national sovereignty. The promise of a united World Cup was shattered, but a new, more competitive reality emerged. The tremors of that decision would be felt for decades to come. Thanks for watching. Subscribe the channel now for more updates. Thanks.